We forgot one team, yeah.
The most interesting offseason. And boy, we've talked to this guy a lot here in the last couple months, and it's for good reason. We have back on the line our friend Joe Rutter from the Pittsburgh Tribune. He covers the Steelers for the Tribune. He's former beat reporter for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Joe Rutter. Joe, how you doing, sir?
Well, hopefully enjoying a drama-free night. It's been rare that we've had these over the last 2 months.
Well,
but
yeah,
that's kind of the way it's going right now.
Yeah, well, Joe, I didn't want to tell you this, but they just traded Big Ben. No, I'm kidding. So let's get to it. We can't move further before telling you this or having this conversation. But the Steelers flipped a 3rd and 5th round pick, for AB. Just overall thoughts. Was this the best they could do with the situation in hand, Joe?
Well, I think it was the best they could do at the moment. They decided they just really wanted to wash their hands of the guy. They maybe could have let it drag out a little longer and hope they could maybe get something better. But really, he was killing his trade value by the hour with things he was going out and saying on social media.
Right.
Even the Steelers tried to get him to calm that down, so he could help his value. But he just continued to hurt his standing with the organization. And they just had they felt they had to get rid of this guy. I mean, they didn't get, nearly what people would have thought they would have gotten for him. But they just wanted to wash their hands of him, and and they've gotten some criticism for it. But they needed to move on. They didn't want to go through another Le'Veon Bell type of situation where they had an unhappy player who may or may not report. They just decided they had to move on.
What's the feeling in Pittsburgh, Joe? Is that the AB just kind of went AWOL here, or that management kind of enabled him? What's just the overall sentiment towards the situation?
I think it's different. It's different in Pittsburgh than I think it is nationally. In Pittsburgh, I think it's more everybody's kind of seen it. This guy wanted the money. And, 2 years ago, he was the highest paid wide receiver. Then 2 years later, he's not happy with the money he's making. And, he's talking about guarantees and this and that. And he's not happy with certain things, and he, leaves the team. But I think it all came down to money. He felt like, he knew he was entering. They had pushed so much money to the front of the contract that he was entering the least valued years of this deal, and I think they just, he wanted more money. That's basically, I think what it boils down to here. I think outside of Pittsburgh, it boils down to people thinking it's a feud between him and Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, you mentioned Big Ben. There was an interesting article on Sports Illustrated today with Le'Veon Bell, and he said the two biggest factors were obviously money and Big Ben. Why are players not getting along with this guy?
It's interesting because it's the two main ones are the two guys that are not here anymore. I think that has a lot to do
True.
with it.
Fair enough.
In both situations, money was the root of all of this. Does Ben Roethlisberger have his flaws? But I don't know how much that played into this whole thing here. It was, he said some crazy things like he wasn't happy with the way he was used. I mean, he got the ball.
He was used every play.
One year. I don't understand, I just don't understand where some of the things that he was saying were coming from.
Right. And by those two, you mean Jesse James and Ramon Foster, right, Joe?
What's that?
No, I'm kidding.
That's true. Yeah,
All right. So the Steelers picked up Steven Nelson and Dante Moncrief in the offseason here thus far. Going into this draft, Joe, what are the biggest needs that you see the Steelers need to address?
Well, they also got Mark Barron, which helps another area, inside linebacker. But really, the same three needs they had as soon as they completed the Antonio Brown trade are the same things they're going to have going into the draft: wide receiver, cornerback, linebacker. Steven Nelson does, provide some stability there, but I still think they're going to target somebody, for 2020, maybe somebody that can be eased in, help out this year. And same thing, Dante Moncrief, he's a short-term, fix. I think they're going to still go second, third round at that. But really inside linebacker, they got Mark Barron for 2 years. I think they're going to still try to get somebody in the first round, being, one of the Devons, Devin White or Devin Bush.
Right.
I think that's still high atop their radar. But the thing is, now that they've gotten one player at each position, there's no need to reach. There's no need to get desperate and maybe take a pick they didn't want to have to make. I think they can, they've been able to give themselves some insurance at all three positions.
Right. Joe, let's just say hypothetical. Devin Bush is off the board. A guy like Greedy Williams is off the board. Is there any chance in hell they take a guy named Marquise Brown? Or is he just guilty by association?
I don't see it. I really don't.
That's fair.
And, yeah. Forget who his cousin is too. He's a very small receiver too.
Yep.
And I think they would, want somebody that's a little bigger. Like I can't remember his first name now, but the other Brown from Mississippi, he might be a guy that they could get in the second or third round.
Right.
So, but yeah, I don't think Marquise Brown's anywhere on their radar.
Yeah, they've got 10 picks overall, Joe. I don't remember a Steelers draft where this many picks. You look at rounds 2 and 3, they got 52, 66, 84, so still some good slots to build depth. What do you think the overall strategy will be besides addressing that inside linebacker position? Is it just adding some weapons for Ben, or kind of building, as you mentioned, the 2020 roster, building for the future here?
Well, I think they're going to go heavy defense again, like they've had through the last few years. Is they're still trying to, they still haven't really replaced Ryan Shazier. They still haven't really got that shutdown corner that they've wanted to get. They probably need another pass rusher. Bud Dupree's going into his 5th year. They picked up his option, but there's no guarantee he's going to be around for after this. So I think they'll, try to address that at some point. And in tight end too. They lost Jesse James, so they don't really have a viable number 2 tight end on their roster right now. So I think they'd maybe try to get somebody there in the mid rounds.
Sure.
So last time we had you on, the Browns, I don't believe, had Odell Beckham here. I don't think they even had Olivier Vernon. What's the feeling in Pittsburgh? What's the vibe with Steelers fans right now? When you look at the AFC North.
I think the vibe is that it's going to be it's actually going to become a true rivalry now. It won't be so one-sided, and it provides, it tightens up this division a lot. I mean, really, I would say Cincinnati probably is the only team right now that, if you looked around the league, wouldn't be picked to be, 1 or 2. And, the Browns have forced their way into that conversation and, kind of the sexy pick to win the division now. But I still think, you've got the Steelers and Baltimore Ravens and, the Browns, and they're all, I think, going to kind of be, playing tug of war with that spot.
Joe, just curious if you've heard any rumblings. There's a lot out there now that teams are looking at Josh Rosen, who maybe have a quarterback transitioning out of the league within the next 2 to 3 years. Some big names have been brought out there. Have you heard any rumblings that there's any interest in Pittsburgh to grab Josh Rosen?
I don't see it. It's possible. They've spent draft picks the last 2 years.
Sure.
Mid-round picks on quarterbacks. They got Mason Rudolph. I think that, if Ben sticks around a couple more years, then maybe Mason Rudolph turns out to be, a pick that isn't the quarterback of the future. But I don't think they're looking at that point. They're addressing their needs for now. They want to improve the defense, and now they've got to get, a receiver, maybe a tight end, some depth at running back. That's too much long range planning, and they've already kind of done that with the Mason Rudolph pick.
Sure. Well, Joe, we appreciate you coming in tonight here. Guys, check him out on Twitter at TribJoeRutter. Check out his great stuff at trib.com. Joe, appreciate your time again tonight. Hopefully there's no drama. We don't need to bring you in sooner than later, if you know what I'm saying, sir.
Well, if there is, you guys definitely know where to find me.
That's right. All right. Thanks, Joe. Have a good one.
Okay, take it easy.